The one I've mainly been playing myself is Flames of Rebellion, since the game lends its style towards portability. So I've mainly been playing on my Vita with the Flames of Rebellion. Now this first impressions comes after a patch they released. So any performance issues I mention are after that patch unless they release another patch. How the game works is you have this map where you move around your character to select different stages. And then once you're in that stage, you have a loadout of 3 different characters. You have a character for circle, X, and square, and then you have your main person, which is triangle. It's auto-scrolling, and it's 2D. One of the cool things about this game is the block system. If you block at the right moment, you will perform what is called a perfect block. And what that does is it increases your AP, which allows you to do more action. Before the patch came out, there was a problem where when you blocked, it took a little bit too much time to recover. So for some boss fights, it would hinder you. They fixed that with a new patch, I noticed, but it is still having frame rate issues, especially at boss fights. Whenever a boss is really doing a lot of moves, you can tell the frame rate just dip. Now this is probably not true for the Sins of an Empire version. I will say though that I was impressed with the artwork. It wasn't generic at all. The characters looked beautiful. So the only bad thing I gotta say is that the characters themselves are not as colorful as the artwork is. They tend to be on the bland side, and the story does cover politics, which is interesting for a game. However, the story just seems a little... It's not bad, it's decent, I want to say. It's decent. But yeah, at the end of each stage, you're greeted with a rating. Anywhere from... The lowest I got was a D, and the highest you can get, I think, is an S. That's the highest I got. So it's your typical rating system. The artwork is good. In the game, there are ranged and melee characters. However, I found myself almost always choosing melee characters only because they're a lot quicker. Especially for bosses, there really is no need to have a gun unless they have a specific ability that you want to use. But you know, one cool thing about this game is in between certain fights, you get 3 cards to select from, and they all lead to different consequences. This is the first game in a while that I've seen where your choices actually matter. Depending on your choices, your morale will go down or up, and you get certain items for boosting your morale of your group. You can either be a brutish thug, or you can be a gentle ruler, or you can have a mixture of those two. Feels like you're leading an army, managing resources. So the game actually does execute that pretty well. I guess this is a nitpick, but I don't think they should have went with 2 separate versions. I think they should have had the same game for PS4 and Vita, because the power of cross-save is lovely and you cannot get that. Instead, you have 2 separate games, and let's be honest, when you beat one, you're probably not going to go back to the other one. So what's the point in having 2 separate games? Especially if you're a Vita owner, they should have just made it cross-save, cross-buy. That would have been a much better decision. I know they have a bundle, which is what I bought, but it would have been a much better decision to have one synchronous idea of a game instead of having 2 separate ones. One thing about the gameplay that I do not like at all is how button mash friendly it is. You can honestly just press a bunch of random buttons and you win. I'm not joking. You can just press random buttons and you win. And there is no difficulty setting. So the game is just purely easy. So if you want to just turn off your mind, I guess this is the perfect game for you. But I always find it frustrating in those kind of button mash friendly games that I don't know how I'm affecting the outcome. And if whether I can actually improve my skills, because it seems no matter what, I'm going to win anyway just by pressing random buttons. So the gameplay is not the best by far, but I did notice after the update with the block fix, the gameplay is a lot smoother. However, the game still does experience frame rate issues, and for that reason, for the Vita version, which I think would be the better version to get, I don't necessarily recommend it unless you're into this type of game. Now for the Sins of an Empire, that's probably a different story. I haven't played too much of it. Like I said, the game lends itself towards portability, but I assume it's slightly better than the Vita version. All in all, if you're not into this type of genre of game, I would not suggest getting it, although it is a unique game, and it's a good game, but I would not recommend to get it unless you're into that genre. Let me know what you guys think about this game down below, because we all know what the people think is more important. So, I'll see you next time for the next video. Bye.